Hey guys, just real quick, one thing I'm noticing with a bunch of you guys posting your mix reviews is a lot of you are struggling in the area of the bass guitar. So I want to show you just a quick thing that you can do with your bass guitar in your DAW when you're mixing it, in order to give it more of that more aggression and just make it sound more metal and be more cohesive with your guitars. A lot of you are just like recording bass and then compressing it and it just sounds very tubby and very clean. One of the things about metal is most of the bass guitars you hear recorded, they're distorted, but they're distorted and mixed in a way so that it retains the low end, but still has that distorted high end. And I can show you a couple ways to do this. The first way I'm going to show you is using the Dark Glass Ultra from Neural DSP. So this is the first one. So what this does is it splits the frequencies of your bass into two separate areas. So you have a low end section and you have a high end section here. Okay. Now what the high end section does is it takes the high end of the guitar and it adds distortion to it without impeding the low end. So if just to give you an example of that, let me see. I got that looped. Okay. So So this is what you have for the low end. This is just this is kind of the raw bass tone that I have. Let me turn off all the plugins real quick and you'll see what I have. So this is the bass we recorded. It was a handmade custom bass that on its own didn't sound great. Recorded it direct into the interface, no amps, no nothing. So, but this is what we got. And as you can see from the frequency analyzer here, it's not the best tone. Okay, you got this big hump here, and there's some hump in the low mids that isn't really all that great. So the first thing we went in and we did is we hit it with some EQ. We scooped out between like 3 and 500. We added a little bit in the like 1K-ish area just to give it some attack. So that really cleans up a lot of the mud and the tubbiness. So here it is without. And then here it is with the EQ. Now the other thing that I like to do at the top is, like I was talking about, the Dark Glass Ultra pedal. Now the Dark Glass Ultra pedal has two separate sections. There's the low end and the high end. So let's hear it. Here's that regular bass sound again. And now let's add the. We'll get rid of all this for now, so you can see it. Okay, so what that is done right now is that just tailors the low end a little bit, and I really left it the way it was in this. As you can see, the master, bass, and low mids are just all set to default. So, I mean, you can crank the low end. That's really the subby side of it. And then there's the low mids. And then you have overall master volume. Again, getting into too much shit. So the cool thing about this pedal is you can add distortion to just the top end. So if I blend this all the way to this side and turn on the distortion, that's this section of the pedal right here. And as you can hear, what it does is it separates out the very high end of the bass, and you can add grit to it. What that's basically doing is it's just adding distortion to the top end. It doesn't fuck with the lows at all. It just adds distortion to the top end. And then when you blend the two of them, it adds this like spanky top end that can blend in with the bottom end of the guitars to really make your guitar sound big and full. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't have this plugin, so how can I get this without, spending $100 on that plugin? It's pretty fucking simple, okay? So what you're going to do is I have the bass DI right here. I'm just going to cut it up real quick, just that section. All right, and I'm going to add a new track. I'm going to add 2 new tracks, actually. Down here, okay? I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab that section of the bass. And I'm just going to stick it down here. Okay, so I'm just going to loop this section. Take that out. Okay, so here we are with the just default bass tone again. Okay, so what can we do to make that better? Well, the first thing we're going to do to it, okay, is we're going to go in and we're going to add some EQ. Okay, so I'm just going to go in and I'm going to grab the default Pro Tools 7-band EQ. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my mid frequencies here, set them for about 450. 400 is good. Set it about 400. Give it a really wide Q and start scooping that out. Okay, I'm going to cut it about 5 dB. So what this is going to do is this is going to pull out the boxiness. So here it is without it. And then here's with it. Just cuts out some of that weird boxiness that's in there on that particular bass. And you see if you sweep through the frequency, so on this particular one, hold on. Yeah, around 400 is good. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my upper mids, and I'm going to go about 1K, and I'm going to give it a boost. Pull a little more here, and that'll give the bass some attack. Okay. The next crazy thing I'm going to do, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, but you'll see why I'm doing this in a minute, is I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a major high pass on this to about 200 hertz. So we just have this sound. Then I'm going to come in, I'm going to compress that a little bit. I'm just going to grab a 76 style compressor, okay? You can do this with the Bomb BFG. In Pro Tools is also a 76 style compressor. And then what I just want to do is I just want to kiss it just a little bit so it's not getting a ton of reduction. So with this one, 4:1 ratio is okay. And I just want to make sure I'm getting some minor gain reduction on it. You want the release to be pretty high, and you want the attack to be really fast. That way it just smooths it out so you don't get any jumps in the tone. You see how it just kind of smoothed that out? Here it is without it. You really notice when he plays the little fill. And then with it, it tames that a little bit. You see when he hits that little fill, how it gets a little louder. He played a little harder, so it just kind of smooths that out. So now what I'm going to do with this sound is I'm going to add a distortion or an overdrive to it. Okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to effects and now let's see. What do we want? Harmonic. I'll just grab a distortion, whatever distortion it happens to be. Okay. Saturate it. Oh, forgot to loop it. I'm actually not liking that distortion plugin. Let's try a different one. I'll just hit up Stomp 2. This one will be fine. This will give me a couple different options. So I'll go in here. I'll select overdrive. Okay. And you have like a green overdrive, which is tube screamer type. Now that's a little extreme. That's definitely better. So basically you want to take this now and you want to bring it on a second channel. You want to paste it in. Just line those fuckers up so that they're in phase. Okay? So now that'll give you this. You have the regular bass sound that we had earlier. Okay? And then what you want to do with the low end, the bottom one, is you want to grab yourself another EQ. Okay? And what you want to do is you want to low pass this one. So come in and then bring this down to like, I usually go probably somewhere around 1K. Maybe lower on this particular one because it's kind of, it's a boxy, really. It's really boxy in that 400. So you want to hear all that sub low end. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to grab another compressor. Okay. So again, I'm just going to grab, because it's a common type, we're going to grab a 76 style compressor and we're just going to literally compress the living shit out of it. Okay. So bring up the input, bring down the output, set the attack and release really fast. And right now I'm getting hitting about -7, -5. And then mix this to the bass sound, and you wind up with this. And then you just mix them to taste. And that will give you a super tight and aggressive bass sound. So I hope that helps you guys out with your bass tones. That was just a really quick example. I could tweak it even more to get it better. Another thing you may want to do, actually, let me add this to it, is you may want to bus them. So now you can go to add in Pro Tools, it's an aux input. So you create this, and then you can take both of these, set your input. I'm just going to I'll use bus 15, doesn't make a difference. And then send these to bus 15, post-processing, okay? Now we'll send them here. So now this is the channel you're hearing right here. And then on top of that, what you can do is you can, if you really want them to fucking work together really nice, you can add like a DBX 160, compress the shit out of it again. Probably like 4 to 1's fine. Save a couple dB off of it. Normalize your output. And then you have just smooth, really non-dynamic bass sound that can just float inside the mix and carry the low end of the whole song. So I hope that gives you guys some ideas on things you can do to help improve your metal bass sounds. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up on the Discord, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. All right, take it easy.